Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Contractor's Corner podcast. Today, I am so excited to be here with Joanne Swap. She is the VP of Operations for SunCommon, which is based in New York and Vermont. Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So, are you in Vermont or New York yourself?
I live in New York, but I'm actually in Vermont right now. So I go back and forth. We have a second region in Kingston, New York. So I'm a little bit closer there. I kind of go back and forth between the offices.
Okay, got it. I guess I'd like to start off with learning about your journey to the solar industry. I understand that your background is in high-ranking positions in the Navy. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I joined the Navy and I was actually part of the nuke power program. So I was one of the first females to go through the nuke engineering program. I was a nuclear electrician. I did that for about 10 years. And then I got commissioned as an officer and stayed as a nuclear engineering officer out on ships and et cetera, et cetera. And it was a great career. And I learned a lot. I also got to see, certain areas that were wasteful in different aspects. But I did get to learn so much about energy and everything associated with that. When I retired from the Navy, I actually took a little time in telecommunications, working with a lot of the larger companies, Time Warner, Spectrum, stuff like that. And one of the things that I kind of felt I was missing was that connection with community again. Telecommunications is super important to the world and the community connecting each other, but it's a little further step away from the local community or even the national community. So I was, starting to think of what was my next career step to bring that back into my life as I felt I had when I was in the Navy. And coincidentally, one of the members of the board of our company found me on LinkedIn and they were looking for a VP of operations. And lo and behold, here I was in January in a new career with SunCommon. It's been fantastic.
So I also understand that you grew up in dairy country in Pennsylvania.
I did, yes.
So tell me about that experience too.
Yeah, so I grew up between York and Lancaster on the Susquehanna, kind of south central Pennsylvania, surrounded by dairy farms. And I was not a farmer. I worked on farms in high school with a lot of animals and horses in the area, and then also just out in the fields. And it was such a connection with nature when you're seeing what is sourcing the energy in your body being grown right next door to you. So it was just a really fantastic way to grow up, to understand kind of the circle of life and what it takes to sustain, life on this planet, which ties really well into solar, because in my opinion, that's where we need to go to really keep moving forward in our climate crisis actions and with just the health of the planet. And I have a daughter who's 17, and I want her to be able to have those dairy country farm experiences as well. And so that's kind of a good tie-in to what I'm doing now.
Okay. And is SunCommon doing any work in agricultural solar that could tie into your background there?
Absolutely. We have installed many farm solar systems, especially in Vermont, and a couple of really larger ones in New York as well. So that's a pretty significant part of our clientele is the solar energy powering the local farms in both of the regions that we're in.
Okay, that's really neat. So SunCommon is a unique company for a few reasons. And one of those is that it's a B Corp. Mm-hmm. So tell me about, did that help draw you to this company, and what does that mean for the employees there?
Oh, it absolutely did. So I was not very versed in B Corp before I started researching SunCommon. And the B Corp certification is something that you get from an international company called B Lab. And what they look for in the company is the highest standards in transparency, focus on environment, focus on fair treatment, profit, equitable to your mission. So we focus every decision we make, it takes into account the financial health of the company, but also our mission as really the primary focus of our company. We're one of only 70 publicly traded B Corps, which we're really proud of. We really feel that business can and should be used as a force for good. And so that is one of our major focuses and why we're so proud of our B Corp certification.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that grow in the solar industry. More companies are seeing that employees are drawn to the B Corp values.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how else does SunCommon stand out from others in the mid-range project space?
Yeah, so we have a very active ESG program. We are paired with New York Renews in New York. Then we do a lot of activism to help with legislation to help move the needle a little bit further on the national and on the state level. Some of the struggles that a lot of places have is just the legislation isn't there to support solar as a larger choice for your energy needs. So we're very active in that regard. We also believe that storytelling really inspires people. So we have an annual Climate Action Film Festival where we get some submissions from around the world of independent filmmakers that focus on things that touch the environment around the world in different aspects of areas that it's really negatively impacting and what's being done in the area and personal stories. We get over 200 submissions every year. We select a good number. We have 2 nights of a film festival where we actually, it's going to be back in person now. It was virtual, but we'll have a virtual and an actual in theater. We sell tickets and it's by donation. So whatever you feel comfortable donating, and all the proceeds go to New York Renews and our other activist partners. So it's just a wonderful event that we throw every year that I feel is extremely powerful in reaching the community and helping everyone understand just the global aspect of what the climate crisis is doing to our planet and how we can help to mitigate those actions.
So you did mention the fact that SunCommon is active on the legislative level.
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked into how the new federal IRA bill is going to impact SunCommon's work?
Yeah, actually, one of the most wonderful things about the IRA bill is we've struggled to get to the nonprofit community. There's just a hindrance when it comes to financing and how you get through all of that aspect of justifying, the installation costs and everything associated with that. And it's one area that we have really wanted to dive into. And there are many aspects of the Inflation Reduction Act that tie to incentives to get into the nonprofit schools, that kind of area. So we're super excited to be able to help people become clients and help them get those incentives so that we can just expand our reach into that market.
Absolutely. I mean, as soon as we started reporting, some of the first emails I got were about the direct pay piece of the legislation. So many nonprofits haven't been able to get those PPAs in the past. Maybe they're a little too small, maybe it's just too burdensome. So that piece is huge.
And I think it also really reaches the individuals too. The extension of the ITC, the backdating of the ITC and the extension for the next 10 years. Honestly, I'm getting solar installed. I didn't have solar. I have a project going in. And as I dug into my project itself, it actually helps me see even additional things in that bill that came through that's going to help me afford and just encourage more individuals to take the leap onto solar. I think the decision to go solar, it's not really a commodity. It's an emotional decision for a lot of people. Sometimes it's about saving money and being frustrated with the power companies and how they change their costs. So again, it links back to an emotional decision. So having the ability to bring in the incentives and to help individuals see how they can afford to go solar and what the impact it is of one little home going solar at a time, how important that is, it's really wonderful.
Yeah, and the federal government is just sort of underscoring that whole point. This is an important piece of the energy mix. Yeah, it's really
a little slow coming, I think, but I think we have some really good momentum now.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me about the most unique project SunCommon has completed, and it might be a headline that I scrolled past as I was doing some research for this, that your company installed the largest net metered array that's possible in Vermont recently. So that might be one of them, if you could talk on that.
Yeah, so we installed, so I have 2 examples, one in Vermont and one in New York, actually. So we are just wrapping up. It's on there's a school system, Winooski School System in Vermont, and it is the largest school powered from solar now. So it was a massive project that we partnered with the community and with the township and with the state to allow for us to install the system. It was great having the ability to go to the work site and to see all of the young adults that were there being educated, but also seeing the impact and understanding and talking about solar and getting excited about their school going solar and what that meant. And that was just such a fulfilling kind of job that we had done, above and beyond, the reach and the expansive size. It was even deeper when we're seeing the next generation get excited about this type of renewable energy and shifting the focus to renewable energy. The other example that I absolutely love, there is a apartment complex in New Paltz, New York. It's called Zero Place. And it is actually an apartment and retail complex that is net zero. So all of their energy comes from the solar that we installed. And one of the awesome parts of this project was we got to work with a whole bunch of subcontractors and architects and the community above and beyond just the investors. And they brought on a geothermal heating system for their hot water and for their heat. And we installed all the solar, and that actually just finally had the ribbon cutting, I believe, in April of this year. And it is a beautiful building, and it's in an area that was a little bit economically depressed. And this type of thing that we can bring to that type of area just lifts the whole community up, and it starts that momentum outside of even just renewables to just help a community grow and blossom. And it's an absolutely beautiful building.
So what is preventing SunCommon from installing more projects?
Mm-hmm. So we touched on it a little bit ago. It's reaching those nonprofits and helping homeowners with those tax credits that we're really excited about the legislation that's gone through. I would also say on a state level, the regulations are not as state run in some places. So in New York specifically, township to township, they have a lot of different regulations. So there's different permitting that's associated with it. And so that makes it challenging when you're trying to really reach a large scale. If you're having to do an individual and understand this township requires this, and it's going to take this amount of time. So one of the things that we're working on at the state level is to just try to get that legislation brought, or the permitting brought to a state standard, so that it's a little more streamlined and a little bit easier to get everything you need in and through in a timeline that you can expect and schedule out. So that is definitely a struggle in some areas that I think is also moving in a really positive direction.
Yeah, with all the development around solar app, and I think that they're now like offering to just give states money for adopting it. I mean, they're just like, please try this.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will see more momentum with that.
Yeah.
All right. What are some new product trends that your company is looking forward to?
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple there. One of the most exciting things for me is the direction that storage is going. So we all know in most places, the sun is not up 24 hours a day. So if you want to really depend on your solar system, you need a battery storage system. And it's sort of in its infancy to some extent. We've been installing for a couple of years now, but it is moving quickly now to increase the capacity and bring down the cost for individuals and for larger apartment complexes and larger communities to install the battery storage, which I think is going to be fantastic. It helps bring stability to the grid, and it also helps the homeowners be a little more independent in what they're using their solar system for. The second item kind of pairs with that is a smart home. It's not a new concept. However, the technology now is moving further down into solar with some smart panels and some different batteries, as I mentioned, where customers just have more control over their system and their energy use. And they can even see indications of appliances that are maybe pulling more power recently that might be getting ready to fail. So your dryer, your washing machine, you see a spike in how much energy it's using over the course of time. There's an indication that maybe it needs serviced or it's getting ready to be replaced. So I'm very excited about the pairing of that smart home battery concept, which empowers individuals, but also brings more stability to the grid as it's feeding into and allowing for surges on the grid and kind of sharing that solar power impact across the grid, which I think is fantastic.
Definitely. And we were at RE Plus last week in Anaheim, and we totally are seeing this where all of the manufacturers are trying to offer a full smart ecosystem home. And many of them have various levels that homeowners can choose from, whether they want just a few circuits backed up They want that whole home or off grid. So
Mhm.
those options are increasing too.
Yeah, absolutely. You look back 5, 10 years ago, you could isolate loads and you had to do it manually yourself. So if your power went out, you would have to go down and flip some breakers and say, I only want these on, and I don't have enough power for these other options. Now it does it itself. And like you said, there's apps where you can adjust it right from your phone. You don't even have to be home to adjust what your power usage is, which is phenomenal.
Tell me about the most rewarding moment of your solar career so far.
That's great. And actually, it's very recent. So in New York, there is a organization called Communities for Local Power, and they run a green jobs paid training program. And we've partnered with them for a couple of years. And this year, we had a group of 8 individuals that came at different times for about 2 weeks to work with our crews and to see what solar power is about. And it's really to encourage like an expansion of the green trades is the concept behind it. And not only was it awesome to just see the individuals coming and learning about solar with their hands on and everything like that, but also we have 2 that have asked to come back and work for us that we are going to give job offers to as soon as they graduate in a week or 2. So it's just seeing the whole circle come together of getting individuals excited about working in solar and then being able to offer the opportunity not just to get trained, but to actually start your career with SunCommon. So I think I'm just very, very proud that we're part of that group. And I'm so excited to bring some of the individuals into our family.
Oh, that's really cool. And I'm sure you'll need to have more and more events like that as these IRA incentives really start kicking into the public's sort of knowledge.
Yes, hopefully, absolutely.
Yeah. Does SunCommon have any plans to expand further than New York and Vermont?
We do. So we right now we're in the Hudson Valley and Capital Region of New York. We are in most of Vermont. We pretty much cover most of the state. So our short-term goals over the next couple of years is to really grab a larger footprint in the state of New York. One, because we know how to operate there and we're there. And so we have a lot of local support there. But we're also owned by iSun, and they do work across the country. So as we're integrating with iSun, the acquisition was last year, we're starting to see other areas of the country that we can likely set up shop or just temporary with iSun partnership as they're doing the large industrials. We can take on some smaller commercials in the area, and it makes absolute sense there. So we're really looking at as many options as we can. And I think the legislation that's going through and the steps that states are taking right now is just going to help in that regard.
That's exciting. Lots to look forward to, both at the federal and the state level.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other thoughts about being in the solar industry and what you're looking forward to?
Well, it's been so exciting. It's been quite a roller coaster. We call it the solar coaster. The supply chain issues that's plagued everyone. It's hit the solar communities too, and we're starting to come out of that as we're starting to bring individuals back into the office now that we're getting a little further through the pandemic. It's just amazing to see the community come back to life. So it's super exciting for all the team members. I'm excited personally for it. And I really love our focus on the activism because in my opinion, the government is really what's going to help move the needle. So businesses are there to support. We're here to do as much good as we possibly can, but the support has to come from the government level to really push us to that renewable energy. And now that we're starting to see some of that really come to fruition, it's just such an exciting time.
Most definitely. You came on board at a great time. So welcome to a fun space.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me, Joanne.
Thank you for having me.